Welcome to another fireside chat. It's so good to be here with all of you. We are live on Facebook, as I can see, and I'm welcoming everybody to this call. This is part of our big accelerator program. My name is Jamal Khayat, and I'm so happy to be your host today. And we have a very, very special guest that will be with us today that you'll be getting to know more about, a fintech leader that I'm excited to meet. I haven't met her before. Just to give you a bit of background, right before we jump into it, we're at month 3 out of 8 months. We have 6 startups in this exciting program, all out of Amman, Jordan, my hometown. We are doing this in partnership with Orange, one of the bigger players supporting entrepreneurship from day one in Jordan. We're very proud of this partnership. We're very happy to be bringing our network and our expertise to the ecosystem in Jordan, and to continue to empower them and to connect them and help them network with experts and individuals in the space, including today with Visa. So Dana, if you're here and if you can hear me, I wanted to say hello. And I wanted to jump right into.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. Yeah, that was a kind of a quick background. I think this is your first interaction, Dana, with Changelabs, and all.
Correct.
We're laser focused on empowering the youth in the Middle East, and this program is in partnership with Orange in Jordan, empowering 6 exciting startups that are in different.
Awesome.
They're in different industries. And they're focused on solving different impact problems that are bringing meaningful solutions to the ecosystem in Jordan. And this is part of our way of helping them network with individuals in the ecosystem. So again, very happy to have you with us. And I want to jump right into giving them a bit of background. You have a very interesting background, Dana. I was looking at, you've studied journalism, you studied finance, you've done your MBA. You've got into investment banking, you've got into consulting. So before we jumped into entrepreneurship and to learn more about your role at Visa, I wanted to kind of talk about these hot topics. A lot of the youth and entrepreneurs, sometimes they're thinking, okay, should I give this a break, go do my MBA? Should I, study this? Should I do that? How do I upskill? So tell us a bit about your background, how you got to where you are today, and we can dive into that.
Sure. Thank you again for having me. I think, first, it's really exciting to see the work that's being done around the region, and especially also in Jordan, in the tech and entrepreneurship space. So I think, programs like what you're running right now are really critical for the ecosystem, and to help provide entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs with the right ecosystem, right connections, right skills, right knowledge, etc. To be able to support them on their journey. So I think, it's fantastic to see a lot of this activity also increasing across our region, which is really critical to sort of support the ecosystem and create one for a thriving entrepreneurship scene. For me, personally, I guess what I could say, yes, you're right. So I started my journey studying journalism. I also studied finance, so I double majored. And that was always just to feed both my interest in numbers and analytical side of things, but also communication side of things, and just, I guess, the right side of my brain that's more related to verbal. So in that, after that, I went into investment banking. I spent 7 years doing IB, mainly in mergers and acquisitions, and did a bit of capital market deals as well. Mainly in Dubai, covering corporate, sovereign wealth funds, and I also did some work out in London as well. And then I wanted to take a break, and I wanted to sort of pivot my career more towards tech. I thought what was happening in the fintech space more specifically was really, really interesting. A lot of at the intersection of really providing businesses and consumers with services and tools to better enhance their experiences with financial services and how they interact, and that for me was the critical driver. But I wasn't sure, given my background, and I know a lot of people, when they want to make a change, they're a bit unsure as to, how to do that. What's the best way? Are my skills relevant? How do I position myself to break into a new industry, etc. So, there's obviously many ways to tackle this or to do that. I took the MBA route because I wasn't 100% sure yet whether I wanted to be part of, let's say, a big tech, I wanted to be part of a larger organization, or I wanted to go down the entrepreneurial path. And having that break allowed me to think through some of these choices, gave me, yes, the break away from having a job, to really think through what is it that drives me personally, where are the relevancies, or get some more experience through internships, etc. In the tech space in London, which is obviously a fantastic tech hub, especially for fintech. Get some experience and really see where I wanted to play. And this really solidified my interest in fintech. I got to work with a couple of startups while I was there in London, and decided that I wanted to do this full time and back in MENA. So this led me to my role at Visa, where I'm really fortunate to be part of this awesome organization that's really leading in the fintech space and meaning in the payment space globally, but also working very closely and collaborating with fintechs in the region to help, deliver sort of the scale of Visa globally, to help support some of these earlier stage ventures, or let's say if there are bigger global companies that want to come and work and operate in the region, we support them and we work with them on this and partner very closely. So maybe this is just a gist of my background, and I can zero in on anything that sounded, interesting.
Amazing.
And from what I said, happy to deep dive a bit further on the MBA or all of these things.
Sounds good. I mean, if I was one of the members of the audience or one of the startups, my gears would be going now to ask about whether it's, and the theme of this month is go-to-market strategy, right? So if I was in your shoes, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions around understanding the GCC market a bit better, or understanding some aspects of working in London, this is someone that has seen it and been there. Dana, it's so good to see the richness of the different topics we can touch on. And right before we get back right into it, I just figured out the camera situation. I see Rabia, our host from Orange, is also on the call. Rabia, it's good to see you. And some of my colleagues are also logged in with their cameras. Jenna, good to see you. Hope all is well at your end. So diving back into some of the topics we can talk about. One thing we can just kind of get out of the way is what's kind of the most rewarding, let's say, upskilling opportunities for you. Was it the internships? Was it the MBA? Was it your ability to jump from one industry to another? Do you think in hindsight you could have from day one just focused on fintech and avoided all the MBA and that route, or you really like the breadth of the experience you've had and seeing consulting, and then seeing investment banking, and then seeing working in Dubai? Tell us a bit about that in terms of building up your skill sets.
Sure. So again, the skill set to get into, let's say, tech or startup or whatever is very variable. It depends, it can how you can technical background and non-technical background, and it's very variable. For me personally, I think there is a lot of relevancy from what I was doing before, or things that are quite relevant in terms of skill set that are very transferable to the role that I'm in today, which is mainly focused on business development and partnerships. So if you're looking at that, I found there to be tons of skill sets that were transferable. But the main thing that I was thinking about back then was, I didn't really know all of these things, right? I wasn't really sure what it is exactly. And for me, yes, the internships definitely helped a lot solidify this interest, but also it just gave me access, or being in London, being in the MBA, just gave me access to, it really opened up my mind to see what are all the possibilities that are out there. So between the talks that were held on campus from, all kinds of companies, speakers from different backgrounds, the network that you're able to build through the MBA, and also just being in a place like London, or being even in a place like Dubai. So networking was also critical, including, hosting events like these and talks myself. I was able to really rub shoulders with a lot of people from the industry. And I think that helped me a lot in making this, this jump, because what critical part of my role as well is to connect with the fintech ecosystem here and basically be close to what's happening, etc. So plus also with the partners that are in London and overseas. So I think, when you're thinking about what helped me the most, every experience of changing, a certain industry or getting into a new industry, or, will be different. And the MBA is not, is also the case for the MBA. Every MBA is different and every journey is different. For me, what made the most impact was definitely being in a place that just like opened up so many opportunities that in my mind I was able to consider a lot of things and then make the right decision on what exactly I want to do with my career. And I didn't do consulting, as in I wasn't part of a big consulting firm or anything. I did some projects on the side while I was doing my MBA. So I would say the main careers for me were, being in investment banking and then switching over to more of a fintech related role in the sort of a BD partnership space. So yeah, this is in summary for me, but I hope that gave a bit more insight onto the usefulness maybe. But for entrepreneurs, I would say the MBA sets the big, and I did work on a couple of ideas while I was at business school. And I think also the MBA creates a great platform. It depends also which school you go to. Again, not MBAs, all MBAs are equal. The programs are very important that you choose. So if you are in a top 5, let's say, program, you will get a lot of support from the school, a great platform connection to VC investors, meeting other colleagues within your cohort that are, of the similar mindset or might have skill sets that you lack, and then you can form a founding team with. If you're in a place like London, access to tech knowledge and tech resources. So there's a lot, that can be offered from an MBA, and you have to tailor it to your own sort of needs.
Got it. So just to remind everybody on the call, and thanks for the answer, Dana. Just to remind everyone, we're going to sample a few different topics, and we're going to have, some time towards the end for Q&A. So for you to take notes, keep tabs of what you want to ask or dive a bit deeper into. And now we're going to jump into a few topics, and we can dive a bit deeper in the Q&A. So Dana, let's come back to the present now. You're at Visa. I would love to know more about what are you working on at Visa. What's your role like? What are you focusing on these days? And then we can start tying it into, what are opportunities for the startups to think about when they think about Visa? How are things that they can, where are areas that they can collaborate on? What's some opportunities they need to keep in mind when thinking about Visa in the region?
Sure. So at Visa, I look after some of our key fintech and digital banking partners in the MENA region. So Visa globally has a number of ways that it can collaborate with fintechs and digital partners. And when I say fintechs, it can be range from earlier stage startups to multinationals that are getting into the space, to into the digital payment space, to a number of our digital partners, really, that can be also global fintechs that have become quite large or even publicly listed, etc. So we work with a range of partners that we help sort of enable and partner with. There's a number of ways that we partner with fintechs. So if it's an earlier stage startup, we can work with them on some sort of fast track partnership, or a way that we can sort of tweak our partnership approach to fit the stage and the needs of an earlier stage business and company. And then the main way that we partner is one, of course, on our core products, which is, let's say, card issuance, if that's something that the company wants to do. And then we help support them by introducing them to enablers. So other partners within the ecosystem that are required, whether it's processors or event sponsors, etc. And really, it's all about leveraging the scale and the network of Visa that is very much global, plus our technology solutions and products to help these fintechs either build, build capabilities faster by leveraging our capabilities, or enable them to accept digital payments or to issue Visa credentials that help their users, transact on Visa network and basically be able to transact online. So in my role, again, I look after some of the some of the digital banks in the region, and some of them are up and coming that we still haven't seen out in the market yet. They're launching, plus fintechs that are either on the acquiring side or on the issuing side that are looking to get out with these products in the market. So this is in a nutshell my role. And of course, we're a very big organization. There's other people as well in the teams that work with me on some of these, and we're really delivering and helping our partners, go live in market with digital payments and digital products, plus using the Visa, products that we have to bring sort of experiences to their consumers or their business customers, if that's what they're looking at. I can't hear you. I think, Jamal, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry about that. So in terms of your geographic presence and in terms of your operations, is there kind of spikes in which Visa is operating in the Middle East? You know, when you look at operations across the Levant, across the Gulf, so that the kind of the entrepreneurs and the startups can think about that different kind of presence magnitude for Visa.
No, I think, Visa is the largest payment network globally. It also has the biggest share in MENA. So definitely, of course, while each market has its different dynamics, when thinking about Visa, I think you're thinking of a leader in the payment space, despite the geographical location. So, if we're just looking at, the fintech, the activities in the fintech space, I would say our partners, we don't have a specific focus on which geography. We partner with partners across the entire region. It depends on the partner and their activity. And while I cover the region from Dubai, if it weren't for COVID, I would probably be in all of these jurisdictions physically. But we do have a team on the ground, let's say in Jordan, that is very much out there talking to fintechs, are very close to the market, etc. And then when there's opportunities to partner, we work together with the team on the ground. So I think in terms of our coverage and in terms of our involvement versus Levant versus GCC, we are very much focused on the entire region. And depending on the partner, we lean in and we focus on them regardless of where they are located.
So then if we look at some of kind of the partnerships or the ways that Visa is shaping the fintech space or interacting with entrepreneurs and startups, regardless of whether they're fintech startups or not. Can you share some examples of how that's taking place across the Middle East? What really, as an entrepreneur today, how do I think about potentially collaborating and on what with Visa?
Sure. So we have, as I mentioned, our FinTech Fast Track program. So if you're a FinTech that you're looking to, let's say, issue payment credentials, whether it's a virtual card, a digital card, or an actual physical card to enable your solution, that is whether it's customer geared towards consumers or to businesses, to provide the payments, a way for people to pay using your solution. Let's say you're building a digital wallet and you need to have a payment credential associated with that, so that people are able to use their cards to pay for things and get money out of that. For example, we partner with them to help them go live with these cards programs. Additionally, we have a lot of digital solutions. For example, if this card needs to be tokenized, so that it can be used in your Apple Wallet or Google Wallet or whatever it is, then we enable and we provide ways for our partners to deliver this experience. With Visa as well, we have a really big number of APIs. Like we have the Visa Developer Platform, which is a number of APIs that helps deliver very unique, seamless payment experiences for customers, for businesses. So if you're thinking about building a tech solution or a wallet or a digital bank, you might want to have a look at some of the Visa Developer Platform APIs that we have available. And this makes the life of startups a lot easier sometimes, because they're able to build, instead of building some of these experiences in-house, they can very seamlessly plug into some of these API solutions and be able to instantly, easily, a bit easier than building them themselves, deliver some of these capabilities in their product, app, solution, or whatever it is. There's a number of ways as well in terms of on the acceptance side. Forever, if we're looking at our CyberSoul solution, it provides another gateway for our partners to be able to deliver acceptance solutions, ways for businesses to accept payments online. So there's really a number of ways. We have a very, very wide, as you can imagine, Visa is a very big organization, very complex. We have lots of products on like fraud as well, etc., risk, fraud, security products. So dependent on what and fintech again is a very broad term, and depends on what it is that the partner is looking to deliver or tackle as part of their solution. We can work with them to identify some of these areas of collaboration and deliver the most relevant and useful sort of Visa products and solutions for these. But mainly it has to do with some sort of issuance play. Usually the partner wants to issue cards or wants to issue some sort of payment credential. And then on the back of that, it's come back
Got you.
with
back to that. I mean, Dana, there's like you're saying, there's lots of opportunities to partner, and it's great for our startups and some of the audience members to know these opportunities. We're very excited about the fintech space. We just had a program that was focused specifically on a fintech track to empower startups that are working on financial inclusion and creating fintech solutions, specifically in Jordan, also in partnership with Orange. And some of the startups that were in that program are now with us in this program that is focused more on the later stage. So it is a space that is growing. It's a space now where in the Middle East, we're excited to see everybody is paying with credit cards. Just a small shift in consumer behavior, huge shift. And now it's allowing everybody to work from home and to create entrepreneurship models right from their homes and create improve their livelihood. So very exciting space.
No, definitely. And I think you mentioned something really, two very key things. One is traditionally we are a very cash-based society just across MENA, obviously with different geographies having the different percentages of how much of the economy is cash based, and the world is moving towards cashless societies and all of that. And we were sort of a bit behind on all of these developments, of course, relative to certain regions and versus others. But with COVID, what we've seen is that it had created a tremendous push and acceleration towards the adoption of digital payments, a quantum leap, if you would say, that it would have taken otherwise many, many years to get to where we got. So what we saw during COVID, especially from Visa side, really interesting insights. We've seen governments come together, businesses come together, and partners like Visa and the ecosystem all come together to help combat this whole cash usage, etc. What this did is that it really drove contactless payments. We saw people not even wanting to touch the point of sale machine when they're using their card, always contactless, or just using their phone, trying to limit the things that they would touch. And this shift in consumer behavior is really critical because it's actually very, very difficult to change and to create a new consumer behavior. So initially it was, okay, putting the card, inserting it. Now it's tapping it. So moving from tapping this to tapping your phone, that is a massive consumer behavior shift that is a key driver to maybe why as well we're starting to see more and more digital wallets coming up, is because there is that shift in consumer behavior and people have been used to that. So now the opportunity for digital wallets has increased tremendously. We've seen in places like Saudi Arabia, for example, contactless payments have gone from, let's say, 20% to 80% penetration. So that's out of all the transactions that are face-to-face, 80% are contactless. So that's huge, right? That's a huge shift. UAE similarly, 50%. I'm not sure about the exact stat for Jordan, but it's also the same way, adopting the contactless trend. And with this comes a lot of opportunity on in terms of tokenization, and then comes on terms of safety of these transactions, so you've got a lot of layers of fraud and security solutions. So but essentially what we're seeing is really exciting. And for the first time, small and medium-sized businesses realize that if they don't have an online presence, their existence is threatened. So we saw a scurry of SMEs trying to go online. So with that comes a huge opportunity on the acceptance side. So if you're a PayFac or payment facilitator and a gateway solution online, I mean, that's a huge market now that has opened up from the SME side of things as well. And that's why we're seeing some of these global players come in, right? So there's created a huge opportunity as well on the acceptance side, on the acquiring side of things, to support some of these businesses that are going online for the first time. And with that, they need a lot of tools as well to help them with, let's say, refunds, chargebacks, monitoring their transactions, etc. And so, and now we're going into the whole P2P space and real-time payments and all of these things. So I think it's a very exciting time. Again, when we say fintech, again, it's an all-encompassing term, but for me, it focuses a lot on payments, and on once you're enabling digital payments, real-time payments, etc., then you can start to add layers and layers. And then another one, of course, is financial inclusion, because now I think what you're seeing is an even wider gap where people that are excluded from financial services or traditional financial services like the banking system, people and businesses, they're having a huge gap because they're unable to access some of these services and all this digital world that we're part of. So if you're excluded from the system, you're creating even a bigger gap with these people in a socio-economic way, etc. So we need to enable them to be able to access all of these digital payments and solutions. And that's where financial inclusion as a theme is really, really important. And there's a lot of players in this space. You've got the likes like the telcos and the MNOs, the multinationals that already have a massive captive audience. They have already a wide user base that they can activate and help these users, access some of these financial services, and we're going into mobile payments, etc., which we're seeing, including our partner Orange, that's here on the call today, is a Visa partner, and we work really closely with them as well on this, tackling this. Plus, the fintechs that are coming to fill in some of these gaps and provide really unique user experiences, etc., to help move forward the financial inclusion agenda. So yes, I think these are some of the key trends that we're seeing today. Many of which that have been accelerated significantly by COVID, and that's why I think in the fintech space specifically, across the tech space, is a really, really interesting place to be in right now, and we're sort of at an inflection point where we'll start to see a lot more change happening.
It's really so exciting. There's so many opportunities. There's a huge shift, like you're saying, and regardless of which domain you're operating in as a startup, this is going to impact you in some way or another. It's impacting the way you're going to market, or it's impacting the way you're selling. Some statistics that come to mind is over the last year or so, e-commerce has 10x has grown, more than the last 10 years. And that is a startling statistic to keep in mind, and to see the scurry of, like you said, of opportunities from digital payments to solutions that you can use to address this shift in the market. So it's definitely exciting. And when I look at some of the 6 startups in the cohort, they're going to be impacted in one shape. What kind of partnerships is Visa making with startups? We tackled this a bit. If you want to dive a bit into that.
Yeah.
And is Visa looking to startups, for example, for innovation? Is there specific industry alignments that you're looking at? And then we can jump into all the other questions. Let's take them one by one.
Sure. So I guess the question is what kind of partnerships? So the partnerships, again, are mainly for enabling the fintech rather than, let's say, investing in them or buying them. We do have a ventures team. Visa does have a ventures team globally that looks at, either investing in certain fintechs or acquiring them eventually. So there is a ventures team, but it's mainly looking at sort of global investments and locally on a very, very opportunistic basis. I think when you're looking online and you're saying like a Visa partnership being announced, it's usually with, let's say, with a digital bank that's launching. If you're launching a digital bank or a digital wallet, or you're providing, let's say, buy now, pay later solution, and now you want to enable your customers to have their own cards to make these payments with. We partner with these players to provide them access to our network by helping issue a Visa credential, whether that is a physical card or an online card, a virtual card, etc., that is backed as well by a lot of experiences and capabilities like card controls or money management tools or whatever it is. So we help these startups access our product, services, and network, etc. And this is where mainly what the partnerships are centered around. And it's a large scale. We can partner with the likes of Orange, for example, big telcos. We can partner with e-commerce players or very early stage startups again. And it all depends on what exactly from the Visa product universe that is relevant to them. And we partner on that basis. So I hope that answers the question clearly. Sorry, what was the other questions? If you said more than one, or?
No, I think that covers it. The other one, and we just had an interesting one coming from Facebook, but the other one I mentioned, is there kind of collaboration with startups for innovation, like startups partnerships that are not really specifically related to Visa's products?
We can, I mean, if there's a solution, so we have a like value added services sort of or partner portal. What this means is that if you're not going to directly work with us, let's say you're not looking to issue cards, but if you have, let's say, a loyalty solution that is cutting edge and can add value to our partners, we definitely can speak with you and say, okay, do a bit of our vetting, and then also either introduce you to some of our partners that are looking for these things, like let's say EKYC capabilities or credit risk assessment if you're doing something on the credit side, and or like a loyalty solution that you've developed. We can partner with you in the sense that help you, or introduce you to some of our clients, or include you in our partners portal or network that our clients can come up and say, hey, okay, this is a great sort of EKYC provider or a loyalty solution, etc., that we can leverage. So there are ways as well that you can connect with us to look into. So
clear.
Yeah,
clear. And in terms of getting in touch, is it through your website? Is there a specific email? I know some of the startups are going to be reaching out after that and telling how can we reach, how should we get in touch?
Sure.
We have an idea.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, if you're so me personally, I'm happy to connect with a network and mentor or whatever, provide some guidance. If on a personal basis, I'm more than happy to do that. So if, Pamela has my email, and if there's like a select number of people that wanted to reach out for a session on just like Q&A or how to do this or whatever, I'm more than happy to connect. If you're a startup that has gotten some sort of traction, we typically look at partners. So like to partner with Visa, you need to have some sort of, have reached or achieved some sort of scale or traction just to be ready, right? Because otherwise for you as well, it wouldn't be the right timing to come in and start these conversations and say, I want to do X, Y, or Z.
Cool. Another question that I think is important for the fintech space is, the one obstacle for a lot of the startups scaling across the Middle East is some of the market friction, some of the regulations that are in place that needs to be updated in the different countries. And we have Samir asking, does Visa have a role that it's playing in terms of enabling and empowering fintech startups by helping shape some of those regulations that will be conducive to innovation?
Sure. So yes, I think, part of what makes our region a bit tricky is this fragmentation that we have, and each sort of jurisdiction has its own regulatory frameworks, etc. But what we've seen recently really is a lot of regulators being very, very open, talking to the fintechs, wanting to really change things and really help support fintechs and make the regulatory frameworks and environment conducive to innovation. And you've seen, I'm sure, I think somebody mentioned in the chat, some of these, like the open banking framework that was issued by SAMA. We've seen Bahrain as well, which is quite advanced when it comes to all of these regulatory frameworks, etc. We're seeing also in the UAE some new regulations that are coming out around sort of stored value facility and stuff to enable sort of non-FI or non-financial institutions to hold value in accounts, which is similar to, let's say, a prepaid solution or whatever. So we're seeing a lot of change on the regulatory front. Visa's role, so while we are definitely a great partner in the ecosystem, that is at the center and at the heart of a lot of these conversations. We stay very close as well to the various regulatory bodies across the region. And we partner with them very, very closely on, bringing some of these innovative solutions to market. And then you also, on some of these conversations. So we are at the heart of these topics as well. And we find that, there is a lot of movement happening, and it's an exciting time, I think, for us to see as well how this will help shape the ecosystem further. UAE and Saudi being at the forefront, and Bahrain as well. And obviously with also places like Jordan, I know also the banking sector coming together as well to provide like sandboxes and stuff to help startups, test their products and all of that as well, which is critical. So yeah, it's not only regulation, it's also sort of banking sector as well. So that's why I think, we're seeing a lot of movement now in the entire ecosystem, which is really promising.
Very promising. And like you said, I mean, in Jordan, we saw it firsthand, private, public entities all coming together to help foster this innovation. But I have to admit, I keep hearing Bahrain making strides and doing very exciting work and leading the charge when it comes to the fintech space. So very, very excited to see what they're doing there. And we've partnered with some of the fintech bays out of Bahrain, I believe. And we've partnered with them, and they're one of our allies and friends, and loving the progress that I'm seeing there. Egypt, there's huge fintech startups and activity being done, and we also look to them to kind of bring some of the expertise and lessons learned and bring it to some of the other regions that are kind of up and coming now. So that's been an exciting kind of knowledge arbitrage across the Middle East. There's another question from a good friend of mine. Saleh is on the call, and he's asking, is there any kind of CSR approach? So is there anything in terms of like the CSR plays at Visa that, the startups should keep in mind? Any opportunities there?
So definitely there's a lot of sort of CSR that at Visa. I think what we've seen as well in recent times with SMEs suffering a lot with sort of the pandemic and all these shutdowns and lockdowns, etc. Visa has launched various campaigns where we put marketing investment behind it to support SMEs, and we've done like the Where You Shop Matters campaign, promoting and driving sort of small businesses and purchasing from them. We do a lot as well in the women empowerment front as well. Again, financial inclusion is a really, really big topic. So Visa is very focused on that, and our partners are as well. So through either joint marketing campaigns or joint effort, we do get behind some of these conversations that are really critical. And in the region, it's mainly, supporting SMEs and financial inclusion, etc. Also globally as well. So, I'd be happy to connect separately if he has any questions specifically on CSR, and come back with a bit more, specific information. But definitely, there are really big topics that we back and we're very interested in, and Visa, helps promote a lot of these initiatives, etc., through either joint marketing or getting behind them in some way or form.
And on this front, Dana, in terms of kind of the products that you have, is there a kind of product specifically coming out of such CSR initiatives? And similarly, is there a new products that you're very excited about coming out of Visa in terms of innovative products that are coming out that you'd like to kind of share and shed light on?
Yeah, I mean, CSR again is very, very, very broad, and I would say one product for Visa that's really, really exciting and is driving, both globally, and we're also seeing traction in the region is Visa Direct, which enables you to sort of push payments and receive them in various formats, mainly to Visa cards or to accounts, etc., in real time. So what has happened is that, especially with the pandemic and the whole gig economy as well, sort of expanding a lot during COVID, people and businesses are looking to access their earnings in real time. And this solution really helps power this use case for a lot of our global fintech partners. We've also seen, globally, a lot of governments, providing support, whether it's for businesses, or for consumers, and they need a way to push and provide these payments in real time. So from governments to businesses or governments to consumers. So I think so as well, Visa has been really, really at the core of all of this with our Visa Direct solution that really helps power this real-time payments use case. And it's been, partnering with a lot of governments on this as well has been quite critical and a game changer. So I think for us, this is, I would say, one of the most exciting products, and I would urge as well the fintechs to have a look and learn a bit more about Visa Direct and the power of real-time payments and the changes that are happening globally on this. So that I would say, it's driven out of CSR initiative, but also a very critical product for remittances, P2P, and driving all of these, disbursements or payment use cases as well.
Gotcha. No, that's helpful to know. And just being mindful of the time here. If anybody else has any questions, please jump in or drop them in the chat. We have a few minutes left. Dana, I'm sure you have a very busy schedule. So I want to thank you again for taking the time. It's been exciting to hear about what Visa is doing, to hear about your journey so far. And
Sure.
we might be taking you up on the offer and connecting some of the startups with you after that have specific connections that they'd like to make and build on this conversation. Usually towards
definitely. Sure, go ahead.
Usually towards the end of the calls, I give the floor again back to the speaker to kind of share some of the general advice, some general insights that they'd like to share with the startups that they'd like to bring attention to from what they're seeing in the markets.
Sure. So I think that we're seeing a lot of, let's say, innovation happening. It's both from small players, but also from big players, from incumbent banks wanting to innovate and deliver new sort of solutions and enhanced user experiences, to traditional companies that were not even in the payment space coming into this space. But it's always the onus is, and mainly you'll find that the people or the parties that make the biggest change and innovate are really those startups, the fintechs. So I would urge, I know that maybe we don't have a lot of startups in the cohort that are focused on fintech specifically or payments, but finding ways to really deliver unique customer experiences that and the focus of your business should be something that your users, whether it's consumers or businesses, are obsessed with, that they find it to be life-changing, either saving them time or money or creating value for them. And if it's one of these three things or two, then you really have something viable. So focusing very, very closely on making sure you have the best product market fit and people that are obsessed with your product, and solving one need, let's say, for businesses or consumers. And then always, for fintech, I think what we've seen even globally is collaboration is really, really critical. So at Visa as well, like collaboration is one of our main pillars of our culture and strategy, etc. And really we're at the heart of an ecosystem. And even in fintech, we think and we see, just globally, the importance of collaborating with banks, with regulators, with markets, with other players in the ecosystem like Visa or other enablers as well. It's not about competing, it's really about collaborating that really drives and creates the most value and helps a lot of these fintechs, come to market and be really successful. So and in our region as well, I would say, it's not always to do stuff with an exit in mind, but just having an idea of like what could make sense for this kind of business, like what could be a potential way to exit. Because if you are looking to raise funds, multiple rounds, then there needs to be a path to exit. There needs to be some way that you have in mind. I mean, it doesn't have to be solidified from the beginning that you can exit. So, and this region is quite critical to think through, and have a very clear path to like where this is headed or what could potentially be, a strategy for you to sort of exit. But of course, not every business is built for an exit. But if you are going down the VC path or you want this like tech multiple fold growth story, there is something to think about as well. These are just my 2 cents. Of course, I'm preaching to the choir because you have a number of amazing founders here and a program that I'm sure you've covered all of this stuff. But I mean, just in being around entrepreneurs and being in the space as well, this is something else. These are some of the things that I think are quite critical to think through.
Well, very, very much appreciated your thoughts and your advice. I think that wraps up this fireside chat with Dana Shaheen, ladies and gentlemen. So good to be able to kind of be a part of this program and give back.